Everyone knows that once the Rebbe came to visit the Kollel, when the Kollel was still on Union Street. This was, I think, Be'erech Tovshin Lamed Beis. But I heard different versions of what happened there. So I'm just going to repeat the way I remember and the details I remember. I don't remember everything, but the details that I remember. It was one day in Tovshin Lamed Beis, we were sitting in Kollel. Actually, that day the Kollel was full. Not like some people say it was empty, the guys weren't there. Happened to be a day that most of the Jungelite of the Kollel happened to be there. Then I was sitting in the room, which was, you could see the window to the outside, and I was sitting learning with Chavrusa, with my Chavrusa then, I think it was Rabbi Yosef Minkovich from Montreal. He was a Chavrusa then in Kollel, and I happened to be sitting, and I looked through the window, and I saw the Rebbe's car drive up to the front of the Kollel. And I mentioned, the Rebbe is coming, because we saw the Rebbe come out of the car. Everyone right away, got very nervous. The Rebbe is coming. And the Rebbe walked in through the front door. And when you came in from the front door, so when you came into the rooms there, so it was like this. On the right side was like a long room, and on the left side a long room. And on both sides there were two shuras of tables. And people were sitting on both sides of the table. And there was space in between the shuras for a person to walk through, both sides. The Rebbe walked in. He looked around. He walked to the right side and walked till the end. He walked through the two shuras of the tables, and between the Jungelite, obviously everyone was standing, everyone was stood up with their Sforim open. The Rebbe walked through, looked at everybody, looked down to the Sforim that everybody was learning, and when he finished this side, which is the right side from walking in, he went to the left side. And he did the same thing. He went through the shuras there, and he looked at every person and looked what they're learning. Then the Rebbe went upstairs. And we thought, and then a few minutes later, the Rebbe came down and he left. We didn't know exactly why the Rebbe came. We just thought he came to see the Kollel. Later we found out that upstairs there was the apartment that Reb Zalman Yaffe used to stay when he used to come from England. And we heard that he complained to the Rebbe that the accommodations are not so good. So the Rebbe went pushed himself to see the accommodations and told him later on they say to make it nicer, whatever it is. But as far as the Kollel is concerned, we were under the impression that the Rebbe was happy because he came in, was full, it's mamish full. I can't say every single person was there, I don't remember that, I don't know, but it was definitely full, and most of the Jungelite were there, and the Rebbe saw all this for him and learning, but they were learning it out, the Rebbe couldn't see, because as soon as he walked in, everyone stood up, and that's how everyone was standing as long as the Rebbe was there. So we were under an impression that probably the Rebbe was happy. The next day, when Kollel started, Rabbi Chadokov came in, and he said he has a letter from the Rebbe to the Chavrei HaKollel, to the Jungelite of the Kollel, written B'Ksaviyat Kodesh of the Rebbe. He said he's not giving a copy of it, but he's going to read it. And he got up to read. Everyone stood around him and listened to his reading. Now, there were some people who sat down and trying to write while he's reading, and that's why when he finished reading, since reading is faster than writing, so they asked him to read it again. So while he read it again, people filled in what was missing, but I don't know if they got all the words. But the teichen of the letter was, I don't remember all the words of the letter, but I remember some of the words. One of the things that started, the way it started was, I think, L'chveit Chavrei HaKollel, and it started with the words, Ra'isi Chaymer Teiv. I saw good material here, but it's not being utilized as it's supposed to. And the Rebbe complained about the Jungelite of the Kollel, and I remember another lashon that it said there that you should know that the Kollel is not an unemployment agency. That's exactly the lashon that Rebbe said. The way he read the letter, it said unemployed in English, unemployment agency, and it's a place to learn, and etc., etc. Now I don't remember the protim. I had once a copy of whatever was managed to write down, but I don't know where it is. But Lapel, this was the teichen, and it seemed like also the Rebbe seemed like the library or something, the way the Svarim were, so from then on they got more Svarim. I don't remember exactly the details, but it seems like the Rebbe was not happy with what he saw. And we couldn't figure out what did he see. If we'd say he heard things about the Kollel and that's why he's saying it, but it seems like he came in and saw something. What did he see which he didn't like? Now, one of the things that he did see, we saw that everybody was learning different things. He looked down at the Sforim. Some guys were learning Shulchan Aruch, some were learning Gemara, some were learning different things. And maybe to the Rebbe, that wasn't like a Kollel. That's more like, a Meshav Skene, maybe, that people sit in the Besmedrash and learn. I don't know what. But Lapel, the Rebbe expressed that his thing that it's not the way he wants. And the teichen of it was that it has to become better. Now, the wording, I don't remember. This is the protim that I remember from Ben.